Martins.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Grassroot Chats. I'm the host, MC Savvy Boy, with my co-host, Dwayne P. Frank. And of course, today we have the lads. Big Steve, number one Arsenal supporter, or so he thinks. And of course, Mike N, number something Arsenal supporter. So he has no other number other than number, I don't know, something after Steve. How you doing, guys? All good?
Yeah, cool, man. Cool.
Yeah, we're good.
We've only just started and you're taking liberties already. What's
Nah,
going on?
man, nah, man. Just say your
Allow
piece.
it, allow it.
Stand for? What does the P stand for, Dwayne?
Philippe. Middle name's Philippe.
There you go. There you go. Now you know. Now you go. So
There you go. There you
just,
go.
just to jump in straight off, no wasting time. We're going to do this, man. First of all, Leicester versus Arsenal happened this weekend, and in my opinion, that was a test for both teams. It was a test for me because I wanted to see how far Leicester had become, because everybody's talking about them being an elite, and of course, it was good to see if Arsenal will continue from the Europa League antics. But the question here is not even about the win or who lost. What I want to find out first of all is I had this conversation with Dwayne offline at a certain point. In my opinion, the most consistent winger for the past 2 seasons has been Harvey Barnes. I don't think there's anybody that has been more consistent. And I know a lot of people start throwing in numbers or how many assists does he have, blah, blah. But in terms of form consistency, I don't think there's anybody that's better than Harvey Barnes. When Man United was going for Sancho, in my head, I was like, why pay 80 million, 85 million for Sancho when you can buy Harvey Barnes? That'll probably cost you about 40, 50 million. That will probably have the same penetration. So my first question about Leicester is, why is Harvey Barnes still not rated as highly as any other classy winger? Mike, I think you should answer that first.
Well, I was going to ask you what do you define as consistency, but I'm not going to bother, to be honest, because I don't really care what your answer is. So I'm just going to tell you basically why he's not there. It comes down to numbers, to be honest. If he's getting the numbers and he's making the impact, so there's two things. One is numbers. If he's getting 25 assists, then people notice. But even without that, if he's having an impact on the game consistently, as you say, then he's going to get noticed. That's how Van Dijk goes from Southampton to Man United. That's how apparently Maguire went to Man United as well. But anyway, that's another story. It's all about numbers for me, I would say. So numbers and impact. So although he's probably consistent, he's not like tearing up trees per se. He's not getting massively noticed. Yeah, he's doing well. He's even in the England squad.
So he made the last England squad, and although he didn't come in, but the friendly he played, as of course Southgate likes to play players. But talking about numbers, the way Leicester plays and the way a lot of teams are set up, some players always have more numbers than some. So, and everybody knows that Vardy stretches the team, stretches the defense. He brings everybody in. The wing backs flow down the line. Everybody attacks. So, apart from numbers, why do you think it's not part of the setup or all the conversation, Dwayne?
The problem that Harvey Barnes has, he's in the wrong generation, in regards to getting into this England squad. He's got to try and play in this forward line. Now, if we look at the people who are in front of him, you've got Sancho, arguably you've got Foden, arguably you could even throw Saka in there as well. We haven't even spoken about the likes of Rashford. Help me out, guys. Who else plays as England forwards? Sterling. Sterling. Yeah, Sterling as well. There's a good 4 or 5 people who are ahead of him, and arguably this forward three. I haven't even mentioned Grealish. I've got Grealish as well.
Hudson
Odoi. There's so many names. It's probably the most difficult position to get into right now. And in that position that you play, you need to bring the assists, you need to bring the goals. Now, if we're talking about most improved forward, I think you've got to put him in there. 100%, you've got to put him in there. But I'm looking at the likes of Sterling, Rashford. You can even throw Grealish into that. Sancho's having a brilliant season in the Bundesliga. Arguably, you can throw Foden in there. I think they're all ahead of him.
So, according to what Dwayne is saying, according to what Mike is saying, they're pretty much it's all tailored back to numbers. It's all tele back numbers. How many assists? How many things can you do? Blah blah blah. Sancho is having a wonderful season. I think he has 16 assists, 10 goals.
It's ridiculous. He's having a great season.
Rashford has about 18 goals and 10 assists. You know, everybody's doing all that story. But I still particularly think it's based on how these teams are playing, and these teams are top teams: Borussia Dortmund, Manchester City, Manchester United. So, Steve, please give me a perspective that these boys haven't seen, because I don't understand why. As far as I'm concerned, he's playing really well. I also think he has impact. Might not necessarily mean that you have numbers. I mean, a typical example in 99 season, Man United's greatest season ever. Ryan Giggs, everybody remembers him tearing up the place. He only had 5 assists that season. A lot of people so that's why I say numbers don't particularly tell you what exactly happens. So what do you think, Steve?
I think the current day modern football doesn't suit him in terms of if he's playing in a 4-4-2, he'll be much more appreciated. But as Dwayne Mike was saying, playing as part of a free or possibly a free or wing back, it's not for him. So, and being in Leicester, he's always going to be behind Maddison, Vardy. They will always get the limelight, not unless he scores a hat-trick himself, which I don't think he's going to do in the game. It'll be a fluke. He'll get the 1 or 2, a couple of assists, but he'll always be second fiddle to those guys in the game when Leicester play well.
So if he gets a transfer to like the Man United, for example, I mean, as I said, I'd rather pay 40, 50 million for Harvey Barnes. He's young. You can still train him, make him do some certain things. So if he goes to a bigger team, do you think those numbers will increase, Mike?
Yeah, they could do. I mean, he's playing in a better team. But you still have the same problem as he's behind. He's not going to be the main guy. He's even at Man United. But I mean, yeah, they might well improve, and he might also improve as a player. But like you said, he's young. So as of now, there are people who are above him. That's just a fact of life. To be fair, that's not to say that he can't pass all of those guys going forward. I mean, he might turn out to be a Rashford. He might turn out to be a Zaha, who went to Man United and then disappeared. So it just all depends. But if you're talking about here and now, yeah, he's got potential to do that. Anybody has. Saka might fall off, Foden might fall off, but in the here and now, he's down the pecking order, like way down. He's like out.
I think he lacks the. I think he maybe lacks the belief to actually go and grab it and be the main man.
Yeah, but
he's young.
Doing things for Leicester, though. What more belief do you want him to have?
Running the show
to run Leicester, to be the main man, to not be Vardy, Maddison, Tillemans, Harvey Barnes. It should be Harvey Barnes first. Yeah, he becomes Leicester. That's how he should be looking. That's how he should be looking at it if he wants to take the step up to someone like Man United. He has to own Leicester.
Dwayne,
because at the end of the day, Leicester can be good, but they're still not the big boys. So he should be dominating Leicester to get that step up to the Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
Harvey Barnes to me, he reminds me of, I don't know what you guys think actually, but Harvey Barnes to me reminds me of Raheem Sterling when he first came in. Raheem Sterling was explosive, just like Harvey Barnes is very explosive, but he didn't necessarily always have that end product. Yeah. And this is where I feel Harvey Barnes is. And I really feel he needs a coach. And I was going to ask you guys what you think of Brendan Rodgers as a coach. Management speaking, I think he's very, very good. But I feel that Harvey Barnes needs to be coached to finish. I don't think his numbers are the greatest. He gets into some really, really good positions. And I do personally feel if his coaching is improved and his finishing improves, we'll see some serious numbers.
I don't think Leicester need him to have serious numbers because they're doing what they're doing all right. They've got Vardy, they've got Maddison, Tillemans and all that. So they're ticking along. If they lose Vardy and Maddison goes, then they might want to step him up. But they are basically, you know, like in the rap game or whatever, how they push certain people or wrestling, whatever, they push certain players when the time comes into the limelight. It's your time now. It's not Leicester, it's not Harvey Barnes' time, so they're not really pushing it like that. They're not pushing it. They should be really.
But then if you're talking about pushing it in terms of formation and how they play, I mean, when Sterling was at Liverpool, I mean, till now, he has improved massively, but his finishing is still terrible, in my opinion. Yeah, I think he still misses.
Better than yours.
Better than me. I'm top class, man. Everybody knows. Top class. Everybody knows. But
Everything's down in the boot.
but then I agree with Dwayne in the sense that with certain managers, I mean, if you look at Espirito Santo for Traore, has made him a wonderful player. Pep has added a bit of more finish to Sterling. But I still think with Leicester, Harvey Barnes is doing exactly what he's told to do.
Exactly.
And then that's not his fault though, because you guys are saying he needs to step up to be the main star.
You know, whose fault is it?
The manager.
So your manager's going to tell you not to score an assist. No manager's going to.
No, I'm not saying it's not like if he has a chance, he's going to, oh no, God, oh my God, oh, there's a chance, I'm going to pass it off. But if you're saying the formation is letting him just do the dribbles and supply it to somebody else, make the runs, give it to Vardy.
He could be more brave. He ownership of the game more, but he's not that consistent, is he? Like when they score 2 or 3, yeah, he'll start getting involved. But what about when it's 0-0?
Okay, so Leicester versus Liverpool. When Salah scored, Harvey Barnes pretty much took the game and created 2 goals. Created, no assist. Created.
Yeah.
He made the impact, got the penalty. He was down that line. He was just on fire. So now,
One game though.
Sorry.
One game though.
Yeah, but that's just one game I can think of. Okay, Steve, I'll ask you this. Do you remember? This is just an example. We'll come back to Harvey Barnes. Do you remember Mane when Mane was at Southampton? And obviously, you see what Mane is doing now. 2 different players, in my opinion. 2 very different players. That's pretty much how I see, and that's simply because of the way the team was playing. And that's how I see Harvey Barnes. I think if he steps up to a bigger team, I think he'll be as effective as the Manes, the Sterlings, and whoever, Sancho's, or everybody else you want to call.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. It depends when he gets in the big pool, if he wants to swim with the big fish. You know what I mean? Or he can just get distracted and not step up. It's happened with players before. People look at Zaha when Zaha went to Man United. Everyone was expecting him to step up and do big things, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. It's not to say he's not a quality player, but it's just in that environment, do you maximize your potential? Do you step up? Sterling's a prime example. He was at Liverpool. Everyone slated him for moving to Man City. But when you look back in hindsight, he's become a much better player than the one he was at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Well, Zaha, to be fair, wasn't given a chance, but well, all right.
Yeah,
well,
but Zaha, don't forget, Zaha wasn't given a chance because he was getting too acquainted with a certain manager's daughter.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but whatever the reason,
Come on, ain't no allegedly about it. You and I both know my guy was getting a bit too frisky with a certain man's daughter.
whatever the reasons were, it's like he didn't take the opportunity when he was there. So it looks like he doesn't step up to the big.
He did, but
at the time.
He did, but it was just off the pitch. He took his chances. Didn't take him on the pitch.
Well,
thank you very much.
Sticking with Leicester Arsenal, and Dwayne, I want you to give. I want your opinion first because the Arsenal boys start getting excited. Now, the thing is, what does the Leicester Arsenal game tells us something? It tells us that Arteta can actually play a so-called weakened team because he didn't have Saka, he didn't have Aubameyang, he didn't have Odegaard on that pitch, which are supposed to be the main players. So, or part of the main players. So it tells us that Arsenal actually has that depth in squad to actually do things and win matches because Leicester is a top 4 team at the moment, and Arsenal pretty much won that game very comfortably. So now my question now here is simple. You mentioned Brendan Rodgers, which is a question I wanted to ask. Why, at the moment, a lot of conversation is being spoken about how wonderful Arteta is. Is Arteta a better manager than Brendan Rodgers?
No. That's an emphatic no. We know this. But you've got to give Arteta time. And I personally feel for Arteta, right? You've got to remember, Arsenal are not just one of the biggest clubs in England. They're one of the biggest clubs in Europe, okay? One of the biggest in Europe. Now, no, they are. Come on. We've got to tell it how it is. They're one of the biggest in Europe, right? So with Arteta, going from, what was he, first team coach? Something like, no, what was he? Assistant manager? Something like that. to go from assistant manager to managing one of the biggest clubs in Europe, we know they're in a mess. You know, whether it be on and off the pitch, they can put in some fantastic performances, arguably one of the best performances of the season against Leicester. Definitely. I'm just talking the whole Premiership, right? We know this, but you're asking this guy to take Arsenal back into the top four. I tell you what, if he finds a way to get Arsenal back in the top four in the next 2 years, not just this season, but next season, if he finds a way, you've got to give him some serious plaudits. But if we're talking about levels against Brendan Rodgers, what Brendan Rodgers has done, almost won that title at Liverpool, arguably they're a better team now than Leicester, a better team now than what they were when they won the Premiership. No, you can't compare them. It's not fair to compare them right now. There's levels, man. It's not fair.
Okay, well, first of all, speaking about levels, so we're going to go to the Arsenal boys. Speaking about levels, Dwayne just said there are levels to this thing, which would mean that Brendan Rodgers, according to what Dwayne has said, is at some sort of higher level than Arteta.
Yeah, it's a golf, man. It's golf.
Yes, it's some sort of higher level at Arteta. However, Arteta is still walking into one of the biggest clubs in Europe, one of the biggest clubs in England. So, for example, at the time before they hired Arteta, would you have taken Brendan Rodgers, Steve?
What if I had a choice between him and Arteta?
Yes.
No, because Arteta, to me, is a better coach.
Ooh.
Yeah, better coach.
Big Steve
Brendan Rodgers is not Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers, and the thing is, a lot of people credit what's happened at Man City to Pep, but we've heard continuously that Arteta is involved with improving the players, and Arsenal needed improvement in players. Plus, Arsenal was never going to let someone come in and run the whole club. Brendan Rodgers doesn't do that at a club. Run the whole club from top to bottom. We needed a manager to fit into a structure, which Arteta does. Yeah, technical director Edu, the board, everyone needs to be singing on the same hymn sheet. So to me, Brendan Rodgers didn't fit. If he was going to go for a big manager, we had to go bigger than that. So to me, as an Arsenal fan, that wasn't going to happen.
So you're saying you would have taken you would take Arteta because he's a better coach based on what he has done at Man City. However, if you look at current results, Man City clearly shows that they don't miss Arteta as a coach. They don't, because they're top of the league. They're doing well. They haven't lost any game in 20 games. But Mike, do you agree with Brendan Rodgers fitting a structure or not fitting a structure, and Arteta being a better coach?
I agree that he may be a better coach, perhaps, but at the time that we got Arteta, I don't think many people would have taken an unknown quantity in Arteta over Brendan Rodgers, because you've seen what he's done, what he was doing at Leicester, to be fair. And in fact, in the days when we were all over the place, people were begging, wow, we should have got Rodgers, we should have got Ancelotti, we should have got this guy, we should have got that guy. My mum can be better than this guy. Now this guy is starting to turn it around by part fluke. I think it's part fluke. The kids helped out. I don't know by design, to be fair. It's not all by design. Otherwise, he'd have put the kids in ages ago. It's only when we almost got relegated, started playing, we picked up. Yeah, that's a separate story. But
so you are saying part of his managerial structure is fluke.
This season, some of the games how the team has turned out with ESR coming out and Saka being more prominent and that stuff. Some of that, I don't think he planned to be playing them from day one. I think he had a little choice, because where we were, it was like the last throw of the dice. So I must play these kids. There's nothing else to do, because they were there from time, and he kept playing Willian week in, week out. Pepe, Pepe's come good now, to be fair. But you know what I mean.
It's only been 3 games though. So
he's coming good. He's coming good. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I'll also say before anything else that we beat Leicester. Okay, but Leicester weren't really at the races. They weren't in top shape. They had quite a few injuries going into that. They were dropping like flies on the day as well. We played well.
But I think Rodgers got his tactics wrong. Rodgers tried to employ the same tactics that he done at Emirates. Sit back, especially as they got the goal early, sit back and then try and hit us on the counter. And we're a better team than what we was that night.
Yeah, but it worked in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, but since that's for a mistake. They didn't create it. Yeah, and we're a better team than when that game happened back then.
But listen, don't you think it's a little bit fluke that, I mean, when I saw Willian on the team sheet, I thought, fuck this, we've lost.
Well, before we talk about fluke or no fluke, Dwayne, what do you think about what Steve said about Arteta being a better coach than Brendan Rodgers and fitting into Arsenal more than Brendan Rodgers would have?
All right. So the thing is, when Rodgers, when Rodgers first went to Celtic, he went there as a first team coach. And we all know what he did over there. Now, we can say that the levels over there aren't exactly the same as what they are in the Premiership, not as competitive, but my guy still pulled out a treble. All right. So if we're talking about coaching and bringing players through and what have you, boy, last time I checked, Van Dijk was just leaving as Southampton were coming through, and they filled that void. He got them into Europe consistently. They may have got out, first round or qualifying round, but he always got them there. And again, we'll say, competition wasn't there, but he's always been able to bring players through. And that's what I'm intrigued by. I'm intrigued by him always improving players. He did improve Edouard. If you look at the stats, for example, before he left, he was improving the likes of Edouard. He improved the likes of Christopher Ayer at the back, who I feel should be leaving that club anytime soon. He improved Tierney to serious levels before he was going, who I still say is one of the best in Europe. And I'm going to hold that until he actually proves it. Right? Say it again.
Go Arsenal, so we're going to agree with you anyway.
Yeah, well, but he's this is just my opinion. But like at the end of the day, when it comes to coaching, I think you've got to give him plaudits as well. I don't know if I'm going to say Arteta was a better coach. I like you guys have said, it has been said before that Arteta did a lot behind the scenes, so you've got to give him plaudits. You've got to give him plaudits.
But go back to Steve though, like you're saying though, Dwayne, yeah. Basically, if Rodgers has improved the team, surely he then improved it as a collective to make that team better. But where's the evidence before Arteta became our manager? Where's the evidence that Arteta was a better coach or improved anybody? He was tied to Pep, so we didn't know that he was a better coach. We just assumed that he was because he's managed and he knows Pep. But you couldn't say he had any evidence to say he was. Now that he's out on his own, you can see they look like players. You can start to say that there's some empirical evidence. But prior to that, we couldn't have said that.
The only thing you could have gone on is things like what Pep said.
This is it. This is
what Pep said prior.
Before we go on what Pep said, now looking at it from what Arteta is doing at Arsenal, he's the same defenders, but they're massively improved. Massively. Same defenders. So if we're trying to, based on Steve's points, it is obvious that, Arteta is a good coach, man management, whatever you want to call. The same personnel. David Luiz looks like a new signing.
Wait, question. Is that the players have improved, or is that they're working to a system that they understand? Because
it also could be that it's a man that just knows how to tick their boxes, which would actually back Steve's point.
He knows how to coach them, get the best out of each individual player, whether make them understand the system and turn them around, make them have confidence.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily a better player. I think Holden's still whack. He's just playing in a different system.
Yeah, but that's what makes it though.
But if you put Holding by himself in another system, he's not a better player. He's not a better player. He just understands.
He's whether he understands the system. Doesn't matter what system he's playing. Is how good he's playing.
Okay, so for example,
back four, back three.
Okay, let me give an example. I'm playing, right? I practice how to use my left foot. I practice about positional play, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I become a better player, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
In any formation. Or you coach me to play a back three. I'm comfortable with the right side of a back three. Put me on the left side of a back three, I'm lost. I'm not a better player.
Why are you lost? Because you can't use your left foot?
No, because I'm just not a better player. I understand. Understanding one part of your role doesn't make you a better player. It just means you understand that role. You're not a better player. Better player means that you improve all of your stats. You're defending overall.
No, but you're talking about. You're saying you're basing it on individual skills.
So what
yeah,
I'm saying,
but understanding your role is a massive part of being a better player. Because, for example, right, if you're a right-footed player and you're told to play left back, you can still be very, very good playing left back if you understand the role, because you always know that you have to check on your right foot. Dennis Irwin was one of the best left backs in the league. He was
Yeah.
right-footed.
Say
He
it
was
again.
right-footed,
Say it again.
but he understood his role.
but he's also a better player. He's also a good player. I don't think Holding's example. I don't think Holding's a better player.
All right.
I don't think David.
Before we get into the better player and all that story, well, I mean, we could stay here forever, but just to finish on this particular point, it's simple. Let's forget Leicester. Let's forget Arsenal. Let's use Villa. Let's use Dwayne's team. Dwayne, let's say your manager at the moment says, you know what, I want to retire, and I've put in front of the board that we need a manager that will take us to the next level. Who would you take? And this question goes to three of you. Dwayne first. Who would you take, Arteta or Brendan Rodgers?
Brendan Rodgers, no debate.
Steve?
A manager to take me to the next level. In Villa's situation, it would be Rodgers.
Mike?
Yeah, it's Rodgers, because it's going to get you what you need quick. It's not a 5-year project. You need it in a year or two.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we've gotten to that point, we shall revisit the Brendan Rodgers saga. It was a good game for Arsenal, though.
Yeah,
outstanding.
Willian was all right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
going to say. I'm not going to say more than that. You can't get more props than that. He was all right.
What is this? Ah! Sorry.
Was that your plenty of fish profile? Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. So the next thing that caught my attention this weekend, amazing. So there was a very wonderful conversation between Redknapp's kid, Jamie Redknapp, and, and Mr. Keane. In my opinion, Keane knew exactly what he was doing, and he realized that this thing was whining the hell out of Jamie Redknapp. And Jamie Redknapp could not resist, man. He started talking about internationals, started talking about, oh my God, this player is this player is that. And Roy Keane just kept giving it to him and stabbing him, which I found very funny and exciting. So now, based on that conversation and based on what Keane was saying, and trying not to be biased, you Arsenal fans in here, let's just stick to what the situation is. One of the things Keane said, which I agree with, is that over the years, Tottenham seem like they're comfortable going for cups, winning cup games, and just being in the top 8. He doesn't think they're good enough to compete for a title anytime soon, and he doesn't think they're good enough to even constantly compete to be in the top 4. I don't agree with him when he says they don't have good players, because they clearly do. But do you agree with the fact that the mentality of Spurs at the moment, regardless of who they hire as a manager, even with the quality players, would never be, not never, but at the moment, doesn't look like it would be anything wonderful in terms of the title? Mike?
So in terms of the quality of the play or the mentality, you say the mentality.
Yeah, the players are good, but they just don't seem to have that mentality to take them to the next level. Manager, anything.
I think they need a bigger squad, to be honest, to challenge for anything, to be honest, because they'll do well to a certain point, and they always start to fall away. They rely too heavily on Kane and Song, really those two. But they've got the basic ingredients, but they just don't have I don't think they have a big enough squad. It's not because the mentality.
Big enough squad. How many?
Quality
has one of
players.
the biggest squads in the league.
But are they quality players? So if Kane gets injured, for example, who steps in again to fill the void consistently?
Vinicius.
Who?
Vinicius Junior.
Anyway, so basically, there's that, because the mentality comes from the manager, doesn't it? The mentality. So I mean, to be honest, if you're not going to win the league with Mourinho, I don't know who you're going to win the league with. To be fair, But I don't think they're going to challenge. But they have got quality. They've got decent players. They've got better centre backs than Man United, to be honest.
Okay, Dwayne. Before Mike starts another round.
You don't answer that, no?
No. This is we're talking about Tottenham here. Don't worry, not talking about Man United. Before Mike starts another round, they have had Pochettino, they have had Redknapp, they have had Villas-Boas. Now they have Mourinho. Really, if these managers and with all the money Levy gives them, with all the infrastructure they have, with all that being involved, really, how can Tottenham not really be pushing top 4 consistently and league?
To me, it don't make no sense. For me, Tottenham should be in the same place as Chelsea in the sense that they should be top 4 minimum every year. I know you have the likes of City, Liverpool, Arsenal to a certain extent. Well, they'll come back. Arsenal will come back.
When?
And I don't know, but they'll come back. And you got people sniffing around like Everton and so on and so forth. But for me, Tottenham should be a mainstay. You know, I do think their squad is good enough. I think they've got enough quality to come through. In regards to certain players, I rate Vinicius probably a lot more than what Nusu does. However, is he on the same level as Kane? No, Kane's world class, man. And he's not elite. You know, he's not Aubameyang elite, but he's world class. So I don't know. I don't know what they're missing. I don't know, because when we talk about their squad, you know, if Aurier's injured, Doherty comes in. If Reguilon's injured, Davies comes in. You know, the only place that they can't really cover is the Højbjerg position. If Højbjerg gets injured, boy, they're in trouble. You know, it's a similar thing with Leeds United with Calvin Phillips. They can't replace the guy. You know, it's a similar thing. So I don't know what they're missing. They've got a goal scorer. They've got forwards who can chip in with goals.
They can't replace. They can't. Those guys you mentioned are any guy. The left back, right back. They're anybody. They're not top class football special. So
I'm not saying they're top class, but are you telling me from that Doherty wouldn't walk into majority of teams in the Premiership?
You see, Doherty was one of the players that Keane was having a go at. And he was saying how Doherty was good at Wolves, but really, would anybody actually buy Doherty as a right back
$3 million.
to improve their team?
Exactly. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Tottenham's problem is a investment issue.
Investment.
Right? When they had Pochettino, right, that was the perfect time for them to take the step and seriously invest in their squad to take that jump up. And they would have been challenging.
They were building a stadium, though.
But that's the thing. You had a manager and a team that were performing very, very well. That was the time for them to invest, and take a step up. Tottenham's always been run by the expenditure.
Uh-huh.